Hello and welcome, listeners, to the Career Center Spotlight. I am your host, Douglas Phenix, the Career Center Coordinator here at Holy Names University. This podcast is all about bringing a spotlight to people who will share their personal journeys, insight, and career wealth and knowledge with you, so you can get an understanding of the work they do and how they go about it. I really hope you enjoyed this episode, and let's get it going. What's up, Hawks? It is Douglas Phenix here in the Career Center, and we have another Career Center Spotlight with a fellow HNU alum, Jenni Fick, and she's here to share her experience, her knowledge, and wisdom with us today. Hello, Jennifer.
Hey, Doug. How's it going?
It's going all right. It's a tiring Friday, the last Friday of January, but we're pushing through.
Yeah, there we go. February, Super Bowl this weekend.
Super Bowl this weekend, so February already. I can't believe it. Where does the time go? So thank you so much for doing and taking this time to come back to HNU and really share with us your knowledge and the work that you do over at the Center for Independent Living. Can't wait to hear more about that and how our students can get involved. But go ahead and start and tell us about your journey in life and then maybe how you got here to HNU.
Yeah, so I'm an alumni here, and I graduated in 2010. And I did a graduate program here, and it was through Teach for America.
Okay.
Or it was similar to Teach for America. It was Oakland Teaching Fellows.
Okay.
And so what it was I got my teaching credential here, my math teaching credential, and I did it while I was simultaneously teaching down the street at at United for Success Academy.
Okay.
A few blocks down the street. And so it was a really unique experience that I was working full-time teaching, but then I got to come here and do night classes.
Oh, cool.
That kind of supported me through the experience. And the really cool thing about it was I feel like when you first start out as a teacher, you're very just kind of thrown in with the wolves.
Mm-hmm.
But this felt like a very supported kind of program where, I would actually get to come here and go over my lesson plans with my professors.
Oh, nice.
Talk about behavior issues. I had the professors here would come and observe my class and give me real-time feedback. And so it was a really unique experience in that I got that work experience while I was doing my program. So I really enjoyed that. Previously to that, I went to San Francisco State for my undergrad, and that was in my bachelor's in anthropology and math.
Okay.
Which are two things that totally don't relate.
Yeah, that's a very interesting background there.
I have a lot of degrees. I'll tell you all about my degrees. So I started out as an anthropology major because I had this kind of idea that I wanted to save the world, and I didn't really know why that was anthropology. But it's one of those things you're like, oh, that seems right.
Yeah.
I actually started out in community college, which I really would recommend.
Oh yeah, I'm a community college person myself. I love it.
It totally helped me find my direction, and that was where I was a civil engineer major. I wanted to be, and then I was like, I want to save the world. I had this anthropology class that really changed my perspective on things, and so I was like, that's what I'm going to do. And so then I grew up in Sacramento, so then I came out here, and I went to school at San Francisco State, and I did my anthropology program, and I really loved it. I got really passionate about social justice. I was a part of a group called Students for Critical Anthropology, and we would hold different human rights summits at school, and we were big advocates. And so that was really passionate with all of that. But then as I started to graduate, or right before I graduated, I kind of realized, what am I going to do with this anthropology degree? I could be an anthropology teacher. I can be a consultant. I was in a social cultural anthropology, so it wasn't. It wasn't like archaeology where I was digging things up. So then I kind of did this shift, and I decided I wanted to get into education. And I had taken a lot of math classes previously at the community college, and I wanted to be a civil engineer major. Okay. So then I was like, well, there's this program at San Francisco State it's like a math degree with an emphasis in teaching. And since I'd already taken this kind of wealth of math classes that transferred over, luckily, I was able to just take a few more classes and graduate with actually a second, or I guess it was a minor in mathematics. Oh, okay. With an emphasis in teaching. And my professors there were just like, you are a teacher, you need to become a teacher, here's this program. I was like, okay, I'll be a teacher, you guys are all telling me. And so that was how I ended up here, was the Oakland Teaching Fellows had a partnership with Holy Names University. So then I ended up here with that kind of, I want to call it almost a quasi internship kind of experience. But I was, you know, I had my own classroom and I was teaching full-time while getting my teaching credential here. And it was a great experience. I really loved my program here because there was a huge emphasis on social justice.
Yeah.
And so that was what I was really passionate about. And working in Fruitvale, I worked like down the street. I think I already mentioned that in Fruitvale.
Yeah.
I got to see a lot of those things firsthand, and I got to work with a big Latino population, and I got to learn, you know, what it was like to work with families that were first generation, what it was like to work with families that, you know, had a lot of financial constraints in working with students that were ESL students, English as a second language. And so it was really, really eye-opening for me, and it really kind of moved forward this passion that I wanted to work with marginalized people. And so I taught there for 3 years. It was a struggle for me. I would say teaching was a bit of a struggle for me. Although I'm super passionate about it, and I loved being in the classroom, and I loved working with the students, and I really more specifically loved writing curriculums.
Okay.
I was not very good at the behavior management piece. I got a little too nice, which is funny because I'll talk about my work now, or in a little bit I'll talk about my work now, which is basically now I just oversee a bunch of adults instead of students. But so yeah, I ended up realizing that I wanted to get more into curriculum design instead of being in the classroom.
Okay.
So I actually went back to San Francisco State and I got my master's in education and curriculum design. And then that is how I found my role where I'm at now at Center for Independent Living. I came on as a contractor originally, independent contractor writing all their curriculums. So I was a curriculum developer. And then from there, we just kind of realized that I was good at managing and developing programs. Because I think writing curriculum is kind of similar to kind of developing different programs at a nonprofit. And so I started really getting into that, and then I kind of moved up into where I am now, which is senior program manager at Center for Independent Living. Which is an organization that works, it's a nonprofit, and it's based out of, we have offices in Berkeley, Alameda, and Oakland. And what we do is all of our different programs provide resources for people with disabilities to live more independently. So some examples of some of our programs that I'm really proud of are, we have 2 youth employment programs that I recently I've been kind of building and developing, and they're both geared towards getting youth and young adults with disabilities into employment. So one of them is Elevate. So that's our program that's more for high school students with maybe intellectual developmental disabilities and getting them like early work experience and pre-employment preparation. Whereas our other program that works more with colleges, which is actually how I got connected with you, is Accelerate, and that is our college to career program where we work with college students with disabilities to help them find competitive employment, help them learn more about accommodations, disclosure strategies, and kind of help them navigate that whole piece so that they're successful in their workplace. Okay.
So a very interesting journey to get where you're at now. And you talked about your teachers being a huge influence and, you know, nudging you in that sense of education. What would you say was one or maybe the key moment you remember that was like that spark when you were like, I just really want to help people and like I can really understand it? Because I've been down that road before where people encourage you to do things, people that you trust, and you're like, okay, I believe in something they're saying about myself that I maybe don't see right now, but I believe in them, and then like I'm gonna go try this thing. But when did that finally connect with what they were saying and what you were saying?
You know, I want to say it was when I was here at HNU.
Okay.
And it was a few of my professors that were really telling stories. I can't remember, I want to say Mayfield.
Kim Mayfield. Shout out to Kim Mayfield. She's still here.
I should go find her. She really inspired me, actually. I think there was one of her classes, I can't remember the name of the class now. I graduated in 2010, so
okay. It's been a decade.
I don't remember all the details, but it was a class on, it was about like racial equality. It was about like social justice and equality, and I just remember her telling these stories about like her passions and just feeling her passions and like the conversations with the class. And the classes are really small, which is what I really appreciate with this school. There was like, you know, I don't know, maybe 8 of us in the class, and it was just all of us like really storytelling.
Okay.
And through the storytelling and learning what other people were kind of doing and piggybacking it on what I was doing at my school, it really just started resonating with me, like not just hearing people's stories, but because I was also teaching at the same time, I could actually think like, oh yeah, I remember like that experience happening with my student, or I remember this, you know, like that one time that I was meeting with these parents and like this happening, or this one IEP meeting, and it just kind of started resonating for me how I could see myself in those stories and in that dialogue instead of just hearing it. And so, so I really want to say it was my experience here and being able to be teaching in that community while learning about it was where I kind of was able to bridge that together. My experiences and my impact and what I could do with kind of what other people were doing. Because I think before that I was really more seeing what other people are doing and really inspired by it, but I almost had like imposter syndrome. Like, that's not really how, I don't even know how I can have that impact or how I can do that. You know, and I felt so almost like uncomfortable in my own skin. But being able to take my experiences that I was, and like feeling and like struggling through those experiences too, being like, why am I struggling so much with working with these different populations, or, you know, like taking home so much emotion and kind of like getting my energy drained in that way. But then having this kind of support group here, I really felt like that class was not only really inspiring in the sense that I learned what other people were doing out and like in trying to make this difference and promote equality, but I also really was able to kind of share those experiences and share the challenges and share the difficulties and like understand that other people were having those challenges as well, and other people having those similar feelings, and then Kim just kind of bringing it all together and making us all feel like we were on a team.
Awesome.
So it was really great.
So you got this rare experience and hindsight, and I've never seen anybody phrase it like this, but I think we may have experienced it. But you were working with youth, and you know you understood in the sense of what they were going through and everything. But going to your classroom and then hearing other people's stories, you were able to see in a sense what those kids would potentially come to be as adults, but also learn from the adults in your classroom of the struggles that they had and that were relatable to the students that you were working with. That's a super cool insight to gain.
Yeah, it was a really great experience. I really learned a lot about myself, and I feel like I really grew in a way that I no longer really just felt like an outsider, but I felt like there's a team effort, not just in that class, but there's a team effort of people that are really trying to make this difference. And it was the first time I kind of felt like I was in that team. Even though I did a lot of social justice things at my college, and you know, but this was when I felt like I was really applying it to real world application. And I was in that classroom like on my own, so I felt like I was able to take my own personal experiences and have more of an impact. Yeah,
and so and you've been doing social justice and leadership for a while. What really struck a nerve for you to get into that, and how did you develop your leadership skills?
That's a good question. I think for social justice, I really got into it in community college. I was very into like environmental justice sort of things. And so I was really passionate about that. I don't really know, I think I've just always been that kind of person growing up. Like I really cared about animals. I was a vegetarian for a long time. Not a vegetarian anymore, but I was for a good 9 years. And I think I don't know, maybe my mom had that impact on me. She was always kind of like, you know, the kind of person that would give money to a homeless person, or the kind of person that would, you know, talk to a person that looked like they needed to be talked to. Or so I think I got a lot of those qualities kind of from her. But then it was the group of people that I kind of, actually I was an anthropology professor when I was in community college. My cultural anthropology professor, Archer, I still remember his name. When you have those teachers that you still remember. And he kind of encouraged me to join these like social justice groups. I was the president of the social justice club at my school. So I was like really heavily involved. And then that just kind of carried on into when I moved to San Francisco and just kind of continued doing like clubs and those sorts of things. I would say that's when my kind of leadership kind of started as well. You know, moving to being a president of a club. I was the vice president of Honor Society. I think I've always been a little bossy. But I would say that bossy doesn't equal leadership. And so I think I struggled in the beginning with maybe I was more on the bossy side. So I think the leadership kind of came with experience for sure. And the teaching experience really helped me kind of mature that experience
Okay.
in a way where, I would define leadership not as, just telling people what to do, but more kind of understanding someone and understanding their potential and helping them kind of rise up in a way of that is, going to impact them and make them want to go farther. But also making sure that you're not, that they're in the right place, that they're not finding what's most appropriate for them and then helping them kind of rise up is how I view leadership.
I had a revelation this week. I've always viewed leadership as a great thing and helping people and all of that. But it really struck a nerve with me this week in the sense of true leadership is supporting, encouraging, and developing others.
Totally.
And, helping them reach their full potential. And that's is so vital.
That's really how I view leadership. And that's how I run my programs now is, I really work with all my staff and my coordinators to make sure that they feel supported, that they're pursuing not just their goals at the agency, but also their, maybe lifelong goals or their future career goals. Because, maybe you don't want to be in this one position your whole life, but like, what can we do? How can you leverage this job to how can I help you build your resume so that you can, leave here and, fulfill your destiny.
Great leadership.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you have this background of social justice, and then you add in some anthropology and then some teaching and everything, and now you're out in the community helping those with disabilities and everything at the Center for Independent Living. And tell us about that and the work that you do there and everything.
Yeah. It's amazing. I really enjoy it. I'll tell you a little bit about the organization first, and then I'll maybe go into some of our programs. So Center for Independent Living, I think I mentioned a little bit about it earlier. We're an independent living center. We're a nonprofit. There's 400 independent living centers, around 400 in the country.
Okay.
And what independent living centers do is each one is independently run.
Okay.
I believe they're all non-profit organizations.
Okay.
I might be wrong on that, but I believe that. And each one has its own kind of way of helping, or own different kinds of programs that help people with disabilities. So maybe one independent living center has a really robust assistive technology program, or a lending library for devices for people with disabilities, like a cane or a wheelchair. Maybe another organization is really, their big emphasis is on youth and youth transitions, which ours has a pretty heavy youth feel right now. Sometimes programming changes because we're nonprofits, and so our funding changes. And so, you might have one program that's built up for a few years because you have this funding cycle, and then it kind of so you see some shifting in the programs. But all the programs are based on helping people with disabilities live more independently. So you have everything from, like I was mentioning, the employment programs earlier. We have a really amazing residential access program, which is basically if someone maybe has like a newly acquired disability. For example, we had someone that was shot and needed to become quadriplegic.
Okay.
They could no longer access their house because they lived in Berkeley and they couldn't do the steps.
Oh.
And so we get funding from the city of Berkeley, actually, and different funders as well, to go in and actually build a whole ramp for them.
Oh, wow.
And we do it all free of charge.
Oh, cool.
And so they can actually stay in their homes, so they don't have to be institutionalized. A big thing for a lot of independent living centers is deinstitutionalization, so not having people with disabilities or seniors going into an institution, but instead, being able to age in place. We do work incentives benefits counseling, which is helping people with disabilities kind of navigate the very complicated benefit system and learn how you can still work and you can still get benefits at the same time, but it's a very case-by-case basis, so we have counselors that work with people for that. We do a lot of peer counseling, support groups. We have a very large travel training program, and that we work with people with different kinds of disabilities in navigating public transportation.
Okay.
This could be a group of students in a special education class who just need to learn more about stranger danger, safety out in the field, or it might be someone who is in a wheelchair that wants to just learn how to advocate to get on a bus.
Yeah.
And so these are the kinds of programs that we do. But the big thing at my organization, and each of these different independent living centers has maybe a different flavor.
Yeah.
Sometimes they kind of compete, I'd say.
The dangers of nonprofit.
Totally. But I mean, at the end of the day, the goal is always, to help.
To help.
I think that a big thing at my organization is we try to really change the perspective on disability to show that everyone has the ability to achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve. So we don't see people as, you know, I don't know, we don't see like a wall as much as we see maybe a door. Or, we're much more into...
You don't see a complete piece of art. You see opportunities and stuff and growth for there to still be work.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so that's kind of our stance on things, is to help people kind of achieve their full potential in that way. And it's been really, I've been there for 4 years, almost 4 years now, and it's been really inspiring for me. I didn't even realize that I was so passionate about disability, and I'm a person with a disability. I have a mental disability. I have anxiety and panic disorder, which causes me to go on like these really kind of intense loops in my head, and I have panic attacks somewhat regularly, and so that was something also that kind of resonated for me, because I didn't even really relate my disability in with quote unquote disabilities. You know, I didn't even I don't know, I didn't even realize it myself. And then when I started like talking more and learning more about mental health, I was like, oh, like, you know, mental health is also like a disability. And then it kind of felt like I was joining a team, which was a pretty cool experience.
It's always good to have a community.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just been really eye-opening for me to learn the I don't know, like the perseverance and the just the drive that I see with a lot of the students that I work with, and a lot of the adults and seniors that I work with, and it's just been, and also the staff that I work with. I mean, working at a nonprofit I love it. Everyone is there. I worked at a tech company for a while before, which was a cool experience. You know, it really got me like learning about the hustle, wearing all the hats and the hustle. But then when I started in the nonprofit world, it really helps you. You feel much more like you're on a team. It's not that dog-eat-dog feel that you get maybe in other industries. It's very much like we're in this together, which is the same feeling you get in education or here.
Any of those helper fields.
Yeah, you know, and that's really like what my driving force. And so I feel like I found my little family. And so it's been a really great experience.
That's awesome. You touched on the invisible disabilities, which is something that I recently learned as well, and understanding that. Can you touch a little bit more on that and like the insight, so our students and any listeners can learn more about that?
Yeah. So there's visible disabilities, and usually that's going to be, if you see someone, you can tell they have a disability. That's going to probably involve some kind of assistive technology device, so maybe a wheelchair or a cane. Invisible disability is going to be a cognitive or a mental or emotional disability, and oftentimes these are invisible, and so we call them visible disabilities. We do teach our students that are going into jobs kind of how to navigate if you have an invisible disability, when to disclose, how to disclose, because that can be kind of a scary thing for a lot of students, especially if you're getting into your first job after college. You're not quite sure, do I tell them that I've got this disability? Do I tell them I've got this learning disorder, ADHD, or all these different kinds of things? And so that's kind of what we help students navigate. I generally tell students that I wouldn't disclose until you maybe have to, unless you really want to. Some people just want to, and you want to just be open. But you don't really need to disclose until maybe the idea of accommodations comes up. So maybe you might need some accommodations. You might need some extra breaks. You might need some additional time. You might need things just presented in a different way. I know some of the students I work with, like, they just need, you know, things structured differently. Maybe a special, like a certain, I don't know, like a document that really outlines all the steps they need to take for certain things. So it might be, accommodation could look like that, like maybe your supervisor just needs to give you tasks in a certain way. Things need to be written down. These are the kinds of accommodations that might come up for someone with an invisible disability. And just kind of learning more about accommodations, learning more about, I guess, your own self. But if you think you might have an invisible disability, going to a doctor, I would go to a doctor, go to a therapist, get it checked out, so you can kind of start to understand it more, because they can also help you navigate accommodations. And then speaking to your teachers, because that also accommodations in the classroom, and speaking to your employers when the time comes that you feel like you need an accommodation. you don't need to feel that you need to share everything with everyone.
Yeah.
It's private, you know. I mean, I'm sharing about my I don't mind at all.
But you're comfortable with that in yourself and everything.
Fine. But, you know, and it's fine not being comfortable with it.
Yeah,
you don't feel like you need to share it, you know. And it's okay being kind of the weird, awkward one. Like, I go to a party or something, I'm just, like, sitting in the corner eating cheese the whole time. I'm just like, don't talk to me. But, you know, just starting to get comfortable in your own skin first and foremost, and understand, like, if you need recharge time, if you need your own space, whatever kind of things that you need to be comfortable in your own body. And then once you kind of start to understand that, you might start to learn, like, you know, maybe I should talk to my teacher about setting up this accommodation, or maybe I should talk to my employer about, you know, this one thing. And then when that comes up, you might need to, you know, disclose more about your disability, which you can do either to your teacher, you can do it with your employer, you can do it with HR, you can do it with your
disability services.
Yeah. And then you kind of start, that's called the interactive process. And then once you start that process, then oftentimes you'll probably need maybe a doctor's note or a therapist note. So it's good to also rope in some kind of professional to diagnose. But definitely know that those things are out there.
Yeah.
And if you're struggling with something, seek those things out, because there's so many different things that you might not be aware of that exist, that could be accommodations that can help you. And there might be things going on that you're not sure about, or maybe you're afraid to learn more about.
Yeah.
But it feels so much better when you're able to kind of, I wouldn't say just put a name to what you have going on, but to
get an understanding of it.
Understand it, and get some professional.
Because then you can work with it.
Exactly, and you feel so much better. I feel so much better being able to just talk about it. I don't feel as like awkward in meetings or even in social situations. I kind of just like told them like, I'm a little weird. Just just, you know, if I'm sitting here being quiet, like I've got my own things going on. I'm fine, you know, good.
And so it's an understanding of more of yourself compared to where we can feel like, oh, I don't want this thing to happen because I don't want to seem like an oddball because everybody else isn't doing it, compared to like, okay, this is me and this is just what I deal with and this is how I'm also working on it.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. And for me, at least, that was the awkward part, was feeling like the oddball. For other people, it might be a different struggle.
Yeah.
Like really not being able to test anxiety, things like that. But recognizing those places of struggle and then going and then finding some help with that.
Yeah.
And we're always available to kind of help you navigate that. If you need it, you can always reach out to us. We have peer counselors. You can also reach out to, like you were saying, there's a lot of resources on campus. DSP, what do you?
DSS services,
Or just talking to your teacher, talking to your parents. Sometimes that helps too. Talking to your friends. Just kind of learning more about yourself, the self-discovery. It's the self-discovery part of life.
Yeah, and doing a dive of knowledge and everything, but not going like, you know how some people can go in the deep end of WebMD, the website or whatever.
Don't do that. WebMD is just, WebMD makes my anxiety go crazy. Every time I look at it, I'm like, I know I have.
Yeah, exactly. So
I wouldn't do the WebMD route. I don't even think I would
touch
go the internet maybe that much. I think I would more do a little inward focusing and then maybe more talking to someone like DSS or something like that. I mean,
or coming down to your guys' center.
Yeah, or coming to us. I could talk to you, or we can have one of our peer counselors talk to you. But are you talking to your teacher? Yeah, there's you know,
a bevy of resources. It can be a dangerous place for sure. There's some knowledge there, but it can also be a dangerous rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So it's a lot of work, and so Jennifer, thank you for just all this information and knowledge. If you had to share a piece of knowledge with students who are listening to this, what advice would you give them as they go through their educational time here, whether it be undergrad or grad, or they're in the credential program? What's like a piece of advice you would want them to like really understand?
I think I would say be aware of your tunnel vision. Know that there's a lot of other opportunities out there. Like for me, I mean, I was a civil engineer major, and then I was an anthropology, and then I was math, and then I was a teacher, and then I found myself in, you know, management roles.
Yeah.
So I mean, don't tie yourself down to whatever it is that your specific degree is telling you that you are going to do, because there's so much out there with experience.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. It's like, it's really true. And like, even if you get to the end of your degree and you're like, I have no idea what I'm doing, just get out there and start talking to people. Networking is super important. getting some of that experience in the ground running. But just, you know, be aware that like that light at the end of the tunnel is much bigger than just that tunnel. And there's a lot of different opportunities out there, and I mean, it's kind of up to you to reach out and grab them.
As network being a huge thing, I advocate for it all the time. It's something I have had to work on and develop, and it's almost like second breathing for me. But you said there can be settings where you struggle and, like, you know, you'll go sit off in the corner. What advice would you give somebody who's similar to that, but they want to go out there and network and try to connect with people?
This is what I still struggle with. I was actually at an event last night, and I was hiding myself at the food court.
The food section is always a good place to hide.
That's my first advice. Is if you need somewhere to hide, the food corner is good. I mean, my best advice is before going to maybe an event maybe a networking event, try to do a little research first. That helps me if I kind of know a few of the people that are there. If I know the people that are speaking, if I end up talking with them, I can kind of have a little food for thought. I notice that I'm not as anxious if I know what I'm talking about. So like, you know, doing a little bit of research ahead of time. Also, know that it's okay if you're sitting there being quiet. I would stay away from just sitting on your phone. If you're just sitting there being quiet and you're trying to develop these networking skills, you want to invite people to you. So I would stay off the phone as much as possible. I know that's hard for a lot of people, myself included. But you know, and don't feel like you need to just go to people like, hey, how's it going? Like, maybe just find the one person that you recognize and kind of go tag along with them. That's what I usually do. I'll be like, oh, like, I remember I met that person at this one event. I'm going to go over there. And also, don't be embarrassed if you don't remember their name. No one remembers names. So you can go up and you can say, oh, I remember seeing you at this one event like that. And then that'll start a conversation. They'll probably introduce you to other people. And but stay away from the phone. Enjoy the food corner.
And the food corner is a great place because people come there.
And you can talk about it. Like, oh, this cheese.
Like, oh, this cheese is amazing. You know, it's like, oh, don't stay away from the shrimp. Like.
Exactly. And try to do some research ahead of time. I think that's always good. LinkedIn is a great place to do some research. If you're going somewhere, I'll usually look up speakers, maybe on LinkedIn ahead of time. Things like that are really helpful because I think the more knowledge you have going into something, the less anxious you are because you don't need to just grapple it. Have a little foundation.
And if that's something what people struggle with, that's a great tool to use because if you can research beforehand, that'll help you. Like me, I can more so go in there and just go off the fly and go off the cuss. That's just how I am. But having some research beforehand is great.
Yeah. Also, I would practice elevator pitches every time. Not that you're necessarily trying to sell something, but just kind of have your story, practice it. I practice my story like by myself in the mirror. So I would just practice telling your story to friends, to parents in the mirror. So then when you are in that moment where you are trying to explain to someone, this is what I do, or this is what I'm trying to do, this is what I'm passionate about, you're kind of, you have a little arsenal of little tidbits to throw out. So practice makes perfect. And don't feel bad if you get out there and you're just totally, you go to this networking event, nothing happens, you sit there in the food corner for the half the time, and you're just like, I didn't talk to anyone. It's like, even you just getting there and going is the first step, is your first step. And that in itself is oftentimes the hardest part, is getting out there. So kudos for even getting out there, and then, you know, you'll get it. It really comes with experience. And I remember when I was a student, I kept on hearing that, and I was like, how am I going to get this experience, and where's it going to come from? And it's like, don't worry about it. It really falls into place. If you put yourself out there, it's going to fall into place, and you're going to start just gaining all these life skills, and it's going to become easier and easier, and you're going to be more comfortable on your skin.
That is amazing. Thank you for that bevy of knowledge. I know that's going to help a lot of people. Jennifer, I truly appreciate your time and all the knowledge that you have given us today, and I can't wait for the students and the HNU community to really hear this. So I have 3 remaining questions for you. These are 3 questions I just like to throw at people when they come and interview with us. So your most challenging position you have had?
My most challenging, it was probably teaching.
Okay.
That was hard. It was a struggle of hard and super inspiring. But I came home crying a lot, and I mean, it was really hard because I just took home what my students were going through.
Okay.
Like, I just internalized it so much, and it was hard for me to really shut it off when I got home, or actually when I got to class. And so that was a struggle, but it was also the most growth that I've ever experienced. So even though it was really hard, the payout was phenomenal.
That's awesome.
And I really learned a lot about myself, about my style, about what I wanted to do. And so even though things are hard, that might be the thing that you need to overcome to kind of become the more empowered, stronger.
Yeah. Awesome. Favorite show or movie that's about a workplace?
I really like The Office.
Oh, okay, great. You are my friend now. You are my friend. I love The Office.
Why is my guy? People say they remember Pam. I'm like, sure. So I'd say The Office. I really like The Office. Yeah.
The Office is a great one. Okay, and the last one. Finish the line. When I was 21, I was.
I was going to say something inappropriate. When I was 21, okay, let's see. When I was 21, I had just gotten back from studying abroad in Paris. I studied a semester abroad there. I studied art history.
Okay.
And that was when I decided that I was going to move here, or I was going to move to San Francisco.
Okay.
And actually, it was a really pivotal moment in my life because I was going to go to Sonoma State.
Okay.
And living in Paris just really made me have this this feeling that I want to be in the city, you know, and I really thrived in the urban setting. That was my first time experiencing that. And so right when I moved over here, which was right when I was turning 21, I moved to San Francisco, and I got to San Francisco State and I moved there. And so I'd say when I was 21, I was just starting out my journey as a urban student, and I'm still here.
Okay.
Later, so.
Oh, where does the time go?
I know.
So again,
like, oh my.
So again, Jennifer, thank you for everything. If students hear this, if maybe faculty members or some staff members hear this and would like to get in contact with you, how could they get in contact with you?
They can email me. You can email me on my work email. It's J F as in Frank ICK at THECIL.org. So jfick@thecil.org. You can also go online at our website. That's www.thecil.org. Thecil.com. Oh my. Thecil.com. And you can also find me there on the staff list.
Okay. And if anybody's listening and you're interested and that was sounding confusing to you, just come to the Career Center and I can put you in contact with Jennifer as well.
I might have confused that a little bit. Sorry.
Yeah, this is perfectly fine.
Email addresses over.
Oh, God, yes. Mm-hmm.
I was going to say my personal.
Are you on LinkedIn?
I am on LinkedIn. You can also find me on LinkedIn. So you'd find Jenni, Jenni, and then Fick, F as in Frank, ICK.
All right. Well, Jennifer, thank you again for this great time, and can't wait to work together and get, just see how we can continue to collaborate.
Lovely. Thanks for having me, Douglas.
What another great episode. A lot of insight, a lot of great takeaways, but I want to hear from you. What did you take away from this? What resonated with you and, maybe tugged at your heart to call for a plan of action and something that you can apply in your life now or sometime in the near future? So make sure you go ahead and leave that comment. Let us know what's going down. What did you take away from this? Or if you just want to give us a shout out and be like, hey, you're doing a great job. Love to hear all of that feedback. And if you listen to this on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button. Also subscribe and hit that notification button so you can get updates about all the new great episodes. So this has been another episode of the Career Center Spotlight with Douglas Phenix. Until next time, keep soaring, y'all.